Welcome to this explainer on the folding. So as your dungeon master, I'm always looking for ways to make our campaign world feel more tactile, more rewarding, and, just more grounded. Today, we're going over a brilliant new rules supplement I'm bringing into our game, a system entirely designed to make all that mundane loot you find actually matter. We're going to walk through exactly how this works together right now so you are fully prepped and ready for our next session.
Listen to this evocative quote from the source material because it perfectly captures the whole philosophy of what we're diving into today. The sword that has killed 100 men is not the same sword that killed the first. Steel remembers. I just love that. We're moving away from weapons being these boring, static items on your character sheet. Instead, your weapon is literally going to evolve with you, absorbing the history and the very material of the battles you fight.
I mean, ask yourselves, how many times have we completely ignored massive piles of mundane goblin spears, armory halberds, or just basic bandit short swords because they were basically inventory noise? Under normal rules, they're worth what, a few coppers or gold pieces at best? Mostly they just weigh you down. But what if those discarded blades were actually the raw material you needed to forge an absolute masterpiece? Here is our quick roadmap for understanding exactly how your character is going to transform a basic, run-of-the-mill starting blade into a god-slaying artifact. We'll be hitting 1. Making mundane loot matter. 2. The core rules of folding. 3. Climbing the fold track. 4. Folding magical weapons. And finally, 5. Reaching fold 100.
Section 1. Making mundane loot matter. Let's dive right in and see how we actually solve the universal problem of useless dungeon loot.
The folding system lets you take all those dropped weapons and slowly, methodically, merge their steel into your own weapon over the course of our campaign. It actually borrows from the real-world practice of folding steel repeatedly during forging to improve its density and edge. Each fold you perform advances your weapon along a refinement track. Now, the gains are intentionally pretty small at first. A rising damage floor here, a fractional bonus there. No single fold is going to instantly break the game. But the accumulation of these folds across an entire campaign, that is going to be incredibly powerful.
Section 2. Core Rules of Folding. Let's establish exactly what it takes to actually pull this off out there in the wild.
The really crucial point here is that this is a super simple 3-step process you can easily knock out during a short rest. First, the weapon you recover has to have the exact same name as your weapon. A short sword folds into a short sword, a hand axe into a hand axe. You can't just fold a long sword into a great sword, because they're both swords, right? And just a quick note, the versatile property doesn't create 2 separate tracks. A longsword is just a longsword. Second, you literally just need a whetstone and a small hammer. No forge, no master smith required. And third, you advance your track by 1. That's it.
I really want to emphasize the number 10 here, because it only takes 10 minutes per fold. This is deliberately designed to not bog down our game sessions. Say we clear a bandit camp and you find 6 hand axes. You can fold all 6 of those consecutively in a single hour, while the rest of the party is taking a short rest, or while the rogue is busy, looting the bodies. Your only real constraint is time.
Section 3. Climbing the fold track. Let's see how this all builds up, and what rewards you actually unlock as you journey up this track. As you accumulate folds, your weapon's base damage die physically grows across specific steps, capping out at a mighty D12. A step represents a meaningful physical improvement in the weapon's actual lethality. So a short sword that starts at a D6 will eventually reach a D8, then a D10, and finally a D12. But remember the max upgrade rule. A weapon can advance at most 3 steps beyond its original base die, and absolutely no weapon can ever exceed a D12.
This brilliantly illustrates the psychological hook of the system that I think you're all going to completely fall in love with. It's called the double satisfaction loop. When you hit a die step upgrade, you get that immediate, visceral thrill of rolling a physically larger, more volatile die. But then, as you keep folding, the minimum roll resets and begins to slowly climb again. That ensures over time you literally never roll poorly on that big new die.
That minimum roll mechanic deserves a bit of special attention, because it represents your physical mastery of the weapon's geometry and radically raises your damage floor. Think about it like this. If your weapon has a minimum roll of 4 and you roll a 1 or a 2 on the damage die, you simply treat that roll as a 4 before you even add your strength or dexterity modifiers. You're systematically eliminating your chances of doing weak scratch damage.
Now I know my barbarian players are already thinking, wait a second, my great axe is already a D12. Do I just completely miss out on upgrades? Don't worry, you don't. Since you already use a D12 weapon, you obviously can't advance the die size. So instead of a die upgrade at those major fold milestones, your minimum damage floor simply rises faster on the exact same schedule. Your Great Axe hits a minimum roll of 6 at the exact same time a short sword reaches a D12 and a minimum roll of 6. The math stays beautifully balanced.
Section 4. Folding magical weapons. This leads us to a pretty huge edge case for our campaign. What exactly happens when you find magical loot?
Well, because magical weapons are made of exceptionally high-quality base material, breaking them down advances your fold track massively depending on their rarity. A standard mundane weapon gives you 1 fold, but if you decide to sacrifice a rare magic weapon, that gives you 10 folds instantly. And if you are bold enough to actually melt down a legendary artifact, that's 50 folds in 10 minutes. Boom, half the track done.
Now, here's where it gets really tactical with the property choice rule. A refined weapon can only hold 1 active magical property at a time. So when you fold a magic weapon into your blade, you face a choice. You can keep your current magical property and discard the new one, or you can take the new property and completely overwrite your old one. The vital thing to remember here is that regardless of which magical effect you end up keeping, you absolutely always gain the donor weapon's folds. The magical attack and damage bonuses, like a +1 or +2, never transfer over. Those are just subsumed into the folds. But the named properties definitely do.
Let's break this down with a quick step-by-step example to make it crystal clear. Say you've got a scimitar sitting at fold 32, and it currently holds the wounding property from a fold you did a few sessions ago. Then you find a very rare scimitar of speed. You sit down, spend 10 minutes folding it. First, that very rare rarity gives you 20 folds, shooting you straight up to fold 52. Then you make your choice. You decide you really want that extra bonus action attack, so you swap out wounding for speed. Your old donor weapon is completely destroyed, but your personal primary scimitar is now an absolute terror on the battlefield.
Section 5. Reaching Fold 100. Let's look at the absolute peak of this physical refinement journey, the ultimate reward for your dedication.
Hitting the cap of Fold 100 is the ultimate goal of the entire system. Based on the general pacing of our dungeon crawls, if you are truly committed to a single weapon type, you can expect to hit this cap across approximately 35 to 50 sessions of play. It is a massive, campaign-long investment.
But at Fold 100, all weapons converge on this incredible final profile. Whether you originally started with a tiny D4 dagger or a massive D12 Great Axe, your weapon now has a +3 to damage, a +2 to your attack rolls, an incredibly high minimum roll of 6, and your critical hit range expands to 19 and 20. You've essentially taken a totally mundane piece of starting equipment, and through sheer grit, time, and consuming 100 other blades, you've forged it into something equivalent to a highly potent magic item.
All right, before we wrap this explainer up and actually roll some dice, let's rapid fire through some key restrictions you need to keep in mind when managing your inventory. This is arguably the most important rule. Mundane weapons absolutely cannot be folded into magical weapons. The relationship is strictly one-directional. The weapon you're upgrading, the recipient, must be mundane. You fold mundane into mundane or magic into mundane. If you find a shiny new magic sword and want to upgrade it as your base, you can't use this system. Also remember, the donor weapon is permanently destroyed. As we said, magical plus bonuses don't transfer, properties still need attunement, and every single physical benefit you gain from folding is permanent, meaning it can't even be suppressed by an anti-magic field.
So, as we close this out and get ready to start our next session, I want you to look at your character sheets. Think about the weapons you've been carrying around since level 1. The only question left for you as a player is, which weapon are you going to choose to forge into a legend? I can't wait to see what you guys create. See you all at the table.